Today, we are going behind the screen, deep into the constant battle being waged for our digital lives. We're going to look at the threats, the weaknesses, and yeah, the defenders who are fighting for us in the shadows. It's time to crack open the hacker's mindset.
But let me just start by asking you a question. Think about your digital life. All your photos, your private messages, your bank account info. Is it really secure? Imagine your entire online world is like a house. It's your digital house. You've got doors and windows, and you're pretty sure they're locked. But are you positive? How would you even know for sure?
So, before we can even get into the attackers and how they break in, we have to take a step back. We need to understand what exactly we're building these walls around in the first place. What is this digital fortress that we're all trying to protect?
Well, at its heart, it's all about information security. And look, I know that sounds like a super technical term, but the real definition is actually pretty simple. It's not about complex code, it's about a state of well-being for your data. The whole point is just to keep the risk of someone stealing, messing with, or blocking your stuff as low as humanly possible. It's about feeling safe in your digital house.
To get to that state of well-being, everything boils down to these three pillars. First, confidentiality. That's just keeping your secrets secret. Think of it as the locks on your doors. Then there's integrity, making sure nobody can sneak in and change your stuff without you knowing. And finally, availability. This one's crucial. It means you can actually get to your information when you need it. Every single security system out there is just trying to balance these three things.
Okay, so we know what our fortress is made of, and we know what's supposed to hold it up. But, no fortress is perfect. So how do the attackers actually get through the walls?
It might seem incredibly complicated, but almost every successful attack, when you strip it all down, follows a pretty simple formula. An attacker needs a motive, so a reason to attack you. They need a method, a way to actually do it. And most importantly, they need a vulnerability, a weakness to target. If you take away just one of those three things, the whole attack falls apart.
So that vulnerability, that is the absolute key. Going back to our digital fortress, this is the cracked wall, it's the rusty lock, or maybe it's just the window somebody forgot to close. It is the one weak spot that an attacker is always looking for. It's basically the invitation they need to get in.
And if that vulnerability is the unlocked window, then the exploit is the specific tool or the clever technique they use to climb right through it. It's the how of the attack. It could be a little piece of code, a social engineering trick, or a specific set of commands that takes advantage of that one weakness to get inside.
Right, so we know how they get in. But who are they? I mean, the word hacker probably paints a pretty specific picture in your mind, right? But the reality is way more nuanced. It's more like a whole cast of characters, and they all have very different reasons for what they do.
We can pretty much group them into three main categories. First, you've got your black hats. These are the villains of the story, right? They're motivated by money or chaos or just pure malice. Then, on the other end of the spectrum, you have the white hats. These are the heroes, the security pros who are hired to find the weak spots before the bad guys can. And then somewhere in the middle, you have the gray hats. They might poke around in systems without permission, but they aren't necessarily trying to cause any harm.
And this is where our story takes a really interesting turn. Because how do you stop a criminal? Well, you learn to think like one. The world of digital defense has basically co-opted the very same skills used for attacks and turned them into this incredibly powerful force for good.
This whole idea is called ethical hacking. And the most important word there, the absolute key, is permission. An ethical hacker is invited into the digital fortress. Their job is to simulate an attack, to poke and prod and test all the defenses, all with the goal of finding the vulnerabilities so they can be patched up.
The methods they use might look exactly the same on the surface, but the intent and the permission are polar opposites. One is trying to exploit for personal gain. The other is trying to report flaws for our collective defense. It's really the difference between a burglar breaking into your house and a locksmith you hired to test your locks.
And this quote just gets right to the heart of the whole philosophy. You simply cannot build a strong defense unless you truly understand the offense. By mimicking the attackers, by using their tools, and getting into their mindset, the good guys can stay one step ahead.
So what does this actually look like in practice? It's not just some lone wolf in a hoodie trying to hack the mainframe. It's a really structured, professional process with its own set of tools and disciplines.
One of the main tools in the toolkit is a vulnerability assessment. This is the systematic approach. Think of it like a home security inspector showing up with a massive checklist, just methodically going through the entire digital fortress, checking every single door, every window, every wall for any potential weakness.
And this just shows you how organized it is. You don't just go looking for holes at random. The pros figure out what the most valuable assets are. Then they identify the most likely threats to those specific assets. And then they create a prioritized plan to fix the biggest problems first. It's all about strategic defense.
And then you've got penetration testing, or what people in the biz call a pen test. Now, if the assessment is the inspection, this is the active stress test. This is where you actually hire a white hat hacker to try and break in. The goal isn't to cause damage, of course, but to see if the defenses you've built can actually hold up against a real simulated attack.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. Our digital lives are basically a fortress, and security is the never-ending job of protecting it. We've seen that attacks all hinge on finding just one weakness, and that hackers come in all shades, from the malicious black hats to the white hat guardians who defend us. And, most importantly, we've learned that the best defense actually comes from thinking like the attacker.
And that really leaves us with this one final thought. It's one thing to build digital walls and lock the doors, but security isn't something you set up once and forget about. It's a constant process of testing and reinforcing. So the real question isn't just whether you have defenses in place, but who is actively checking to make sure those walls are actually strong enough to work.